Salah makes history with a goal and assist. Liverpool preparing a crazy mega offer. European giants step in to rescue a deal. Forgotten star could save millions. Iraola pushing for £85 million powerhouse. Mourinho targets wonderkid Bouaddi. Liverpool reject Inter's Curtis Jones bid. Klopp versus Van der Vaart drama explodes. Welcome to Liverpool Exclusives, your home of the latest Liverpool news, transfer updates and breaking stories. If you love Liverpool, hit subscribe, smash the like button, drop your thoughts in the comments and stay connected for daily updates. Mo Salah helps make history, goal and assist in Egypt World Cup win. Egypt stormed back from a goal down to beat New Zealand 3-1 and claim their first ever World Cup win. After an end-to-end start by both teams, New Zealand opened the scoring in the 14th minute when an unmarked Finn Sermon headed a corner home. Egypt were determined to stem the bleeding and were given a flurry of free kicks in dangerous areas, but Mo Salah's curling attempt was the only chance that came close, flying just wide of the left post. The Pharaohs looked like a different team from the beginning of the second half, however, immediately putting the All-Whites under pressure. With a wealth of possession and momentum behind them, Egypt finally levelled in the 58th minute as Mustafa Zico capitalised on a superbly weighted cross. Some quick-fire passing in New Zealand's box led to Egypt gaining the lead 8 minutes later, with Salah playing a 1-2 with Zico before firing a low, driven shot past keeper Max Crocombe. A third goal all but sealed the result in the 81st minute, substitute Trezeguet beating a tired-looking New Zealand defence to a Salah corner and heading it into the back of the net. New Zealand had a couple of slim chances to claw one back in the dying minutes, but were ultimately unable to take advantage. The result sees Egypt move to the top of Group G with a clash with Iran awaiting on Friday. Following the match, Salah told FIFA.com, "It's incredible. I don't know how to express it in words. It's a great achievement for all the players, for the staff, so hopefully we can carry on like this in the group and we can write history and qualify, and in years to come it will be remembered as one of the best achievements in the history of Egyptian football. We have to enjoy today, enjoy tomorrow, then focus on the next game." In another news, it's happening. Liverpool set to make crazy offer. Liverpool are set to make another offer for a superstar, according to Paul Joyce. After spending just over £450 million last summer, one would understand why Richard Hughes is a little bit more reticent about the use of the club's budget this time around. Last season was a catastrophe for Liverpool. The Reds' performances were dire, and there was a real apathy around the club, which will have impacted not only results on the pitch, but off them as well. When a team is playing badly, fans will buy less merchandise, and there will also be less of a demand for ticket sales. Given the dire football being played under Arne Slot, after all the excitement of the summer window, with special players coming in to join the club, like Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz, Slot had no idea how to get the best out of these players, and that frustrated everyone. It's why Liverpool have made a change with Andoni Iraola being appointed. It's why Liverpool will have hopefully learned their lessons as well. The communication between the club's recruitment team and coaching department has to be a lot better. Liverpool need to give Iraola the players who work and are suited to his style of football. Meanwhile, it's equally important for Iraola to adjust and make his football tailored to what he has at his disposal. Only when both parties are willing to work in such a way can you have a successful and cohesive unit. That doesn't mean new signings are not necessary in order to make Iraola's team work. The Spaniard needs to have the reinforcements. This is a Liverpool squad that is completely depleted. Liverpool have been proactive only by a small margin. Milos Kerkez has been brought in to replace Andy Robertson ahead of time. But replacements will need to come in for Ibrahima Konate and the most important one, Mo Salah. The former in some form Jeremy Jacquet could prove to be the Konate replacement. However, the latter, there's just nobody left in the squad ready to come in and replace Salah. Liverpool's other recognised right winger in the pecking order right now is probably Jeremy Frimpong, who isn't really a right winger. And then after that it's Joshua Abe, who is 15 years old and tremendously talented, but not ready to step into Salah's shoes. So, Liverpool simply have to prioritise signing a right winger first and foremost. But just who could they go for? There are probably only two players in world football capable of matching the level of hype surrounding him. Lamine Yamal and Michael Olise. Realistically, neither is likely to have any interest in joining Liverpool, and their clubs would have little reason to entertain a move to Anfield. Even if they were available, the total cost of such a transfer, including the fee, bonuses, agent commissions and wages, would almost certainly place the deal beyond Liverpool's current financial reach. That's why Liverpool have been forced to explore alternative options in the market. And that's exactly why Liverpool are targeting potential rather than the finished article. If you can't sign players like Olise or Yamal, the next best thing is finding the next Olise or Yamal before everyone else does. That's where Yan Diomande comes in. Liverpool have made it pretty clear that the Ivorian is a player they're really keen on, and it's easy to see why. He's got that rare, game-changing talent that catches the eye instantly. Diomande is electric in 1v1 situations, lightning quick, and already ranks among the most exciting young right-wingers around. He's not quite at the level of Olise or Yamal just yet, but he's not a million miles away either. In fact, a recent statistic highlighted just how special he could become, claiming Diomande was the first teenager since Lionel Messi to complete more than 8 dribbles in a World Cup match. That's the kind of company he's being mentioned alongside, and it shows just how high his ceiling really is. Liverpool have already had a bid rejected for him, but now Paul Joyce, writing in The Times, has confirmed that a second bid is coming. Liverpool are set to make a bid in the coming days, and it could be a crazy one, considering Leipzig turned down the first offer, which was £86 million. Will that one get accepted? Only time will tell. In another news, it's all over. European giants save Liverpool. Change is coming at Liverpool, with Fenway Sports Group already moving some things around at Anfield. Andoni Iraola has come in to replace Arne Slot, and the club haven't yet begged for Mohamed Salah to come back and change his mind about exiting Anfield. Victor Munoz has been signed, and with Ibrahima Konate and Andy Robertson also exiting, plenty more players are expected to come in. Of course, change is all well and good, but too much change can be detrimental, which is exactly what happened in the 2025-26 season. And since the Reds' form was below par and a lot of their players failed to meet expectations, new players are clearly needed to spruce things up a bit. However, they need to have some sort of stability among their ranks, which is why Liverpool's season may have already been saved by a European giant. Alisson didn't push to leave Liverpool for Juventus as they missed out on Champions League football. As the 2025-26 season was coming to an end, Alisson's Liverpool future was in doubt. The Brazilian had spent an awful lot of the campaign on the sidelines due to injury, with his contract also set to expire at the end of June. In the end, the club chose to extend his stay, but that didn't stop Juventus from making their move. In fact, there were even reports which suggested that terms between the old lady and Alisson were already agreed, with Luciano Spalletti one of the main driving forces behind the transfer. After this news, most fans thought that would be the end of Alisson's tenure. But, fortunately for them, because Juventus failed to qualify for the Champions League, the 33-year-old didn't want to force his way out of Liverpool to join the Serie A outfit. That is, if a report from La Gazzetta dello Sport is to be believed. Alisson's return to Serie A seemed a done deal, so much so that Spalletti had gone further in telephone conversations with his former pupil, whom he had met during his time at Roma, they wrote. Then Juve had to contend with Liverpool's opposition, partly because the goalkeeper didn't feel up to facing his club. The Bianconeri's failure to qualify for the Champions League likely played a part, but the decision was primarily based on the guarantee of being the Reds' starter next year, since it was precisely this doubt that had prompted him to look elsewhere. Liverpool would have been in a much worse position with Georgi Mamardashvili as their goalkeeper. Although Liverpool may see Georgi Mamardashvili as their future number one, the Georgian is nowhere near as good as Alisson at the moment. Thanks to Alisson's injuries, the 25-year-old has been given a fair few chances to prove his worth this season, and almost every time, he's made a mistake and let his team down. His distribution compared to the 33-year-olds is awful, and while his shot stopping may be better at times, he's nowhere near consistent enough for it to make any sort of difference to his overall performance. Indeed, a loan move with regular first-team football could help improve things, but since the Reds are needing to bounce back after their terrible 2025-26 season, having Mamardashvili as their starting keeper would have been a nightmare. That's why Juventus not qualifying for the Champions League may have just saved Iraola and his men. In another news, Liverpool have a forgotten star who could save Richard Hughes millions. Liverpool need plenty of change among their ranks this summer. The Anfield outfit performed extremely poorly under Arne Slot throughout the 2025-26 season, as they only finished 5th in the Premier League. This is why almost every day a new player is being linked with Liverpool. Clearly the club are looking to get as much business done as possible, as they have already acquired the services of Victor Munoz from underneath Newcastle's noses. However, with how many new players that they need to sign, they need to be careful with how much they spend. Of course, they could move on some of their own players, but what they really need to do is look over what they already have and whether Iraola could promote anyone to his first team squad. And for one player, this could be exactly what he needs to prove his worth at Anfield. Stefan Bajcetic could save Liverpool millions this summer. Stefan Bajcetic is more of a myth around Liverpool at the moment than an actual player. The Spaniard rose to fame under Jurgen Klopp, with the German giving him a regular first-team role due to another injury crisis. And, to be fair to the midfielder, he managed to hold his own and was even called Liverpool's next Fabinho. However, due to how much he played, a string of injuries occurred which have kept him out of action for some time now. He did manage to get a season of football under his belt a couple of years ago with RB Salzburg and Las Palmas, but since his return, he's yet to be seen again. However, a fresh report has detailed that the Spaniard could be back in contention for Liverpool during the Reds' 2026-27 pre-season. Iraola has already said that every single player will be treated like a new signing, which is why now is the best time for Bajcetic to prove his worth. The midfielder can be used as a defensive midfielder or even as a right-back, both of which are positions that Liverpool need to add depth to. But if they can manage to cover both positions by promoting the 21-year-old back into their first-team plans, they'll be laughing. That is, as long as he can keep fit, of course. Liverpool wouldn't have to sign Eduardo Camavinga or Adam Wharton if Stefan Bajcetic steps up. Ryan Gravenberch's performance levels plummeted in the 2025-26 season. Despite this, the midfielder was given a bumper new deal, which is set to keep him at the club until 2032. And, even though Slot converted him into one of the Premier League's best defensive midfielders during the 2024-25 campaign, it's now clear that the Reds need another option for their number 6. Adam Wharton and Eduardo Camavinga have been the two most linked players with a Liverpool switch this summer, with the former of the two feeling like the most likely. Both of these players would be exceptional additions, but since each of them would easily cost over £70 million to bring in, promoting Bajcetic could save Liverpool millions and allow them to focus on other areas of their squad. When Bajcetic made his debut for Liverpool, his quality was more than clear, and if he can refine that form, he'd become an invaluable asset to the Anfield outfit, especially since he'd be classed as homegrown. There's obviously no knowing what will happen with him during pre-season, but if he tries his best and proves his worth, he could become a key part of Liverpool's plans, especially if Wataru Endo's injury is still keeping him out of action. In another news, Andoni Iraola must convince Richard Hughes to join race. For £85 million powerhouse Andoni Iraola, and Richard Hughes will already be brainstorming what else to do in the summer transfer window. Liverpool have already signed Victor Munoz this summer, and since they still need so many more players, they still have a lot of work to do. Of course, these things take time, and Liverpool's fans will want their manager to be sure of the players they sign. But with pre-season not that far away, some more deals need to be confirmed as soon as possible. The World Cup is obviously causing a problem for transfers, but since some rather interesting players aren't at the tournament this summer, deals with them could easily be struck, as they won't be focused on playing for their country. And since the price of players is only going to increase, now could be the best time for Liverpool to strike. Tottenham and Manchester City want to sign Sandro Tonali. At the moment, Newcastle's team seems to be getting picked apart. Anthony Gordon has already exited St James's Park, and the Reds have just stolen Munoz from under their noses. However, the pillage of Eddie Howe's ranks hasn't stopped there, as now several clubs are vying for the transfer of Sandro Tonali. The Italian is a subject of interest from many Premier League clubs, such as Tottenham and Manchester City, with Gianluca Di Marzio now sharing an update on the situation. Important step by Tottenham towards Sandro Tonali, he wrote via his personal X account. The request is for £85 million. The Spurs have offered 75. Liverpool must enter the race for Sandro Tonali. Since Newcastle are only asking for £85 million to prize Tonali away from St James's Park, it's strange that Liverpool aren't all over the deal. The Anfield outfit are in desperate need for a new defensive midfielder, with Ryan Gravenberch performing below par throughout most of the 2025-26 season. Even though the Dutchman was seen as one of the best number sixes in the world during Liverpool's Premier League winning campaign, things just haven't clicked for him this term. He's hardly been able to move the ball forward, and defensively, he's often been shambolic. Liverpool signing Tonali would almost instantly solve all of these problems, and, since he's only 26 years old and has plenty of Premier League experience, he's literally the perfect signing for Iraola. Indeed, Adam Wharton and Eduardo Camavinga have been mentioned as potential options, but with Newcastle actually naming their price for the Italian, it feels silly for Liverpool to not at least throw their hat into the ring. In another news, Jose Mourinho wants to sign Ayoub Bouaddi for Real Madrid. Liverpool have a lot of thinking to do this summer. Their performances were well below their usual standards last season, and without some new arrivals coming in, they'd probably end up even worse off. This would be far from ideal, which is probably one of the main reasons why Andoni Iraola was appointed to be the Reds' new head coach. With this new role comes a lot of responsibility and even a change in transfer targets, with the Spaniard one of the main driving forces behind Liverpool making a move for Victor Muñoz. Several other players have also been strongly linked with a move to L4, but since other clubs are also vying for their targets, no deal will be straightforward. Jose Mourinho wants to sign Ayoub Bouaddi for Real Madrid. Ayoub Bouaddi is one of the hottest prospects in the world at the moment. The 18-year-old has set the World Cup alight during both of his appearances this summer, with his performances probably adding an extra few million to his price tag. Originally, Lille wanted around £70 million to let him leave, but now that fee could go even higher. Just over a week ago, Liverpool's interest in Bouaddi was shared by Fabrizio Romano, and now a fresh update from La Gazzetta dello Sport has shared that another European giant has entered the race. Mourinho has also been eyeing Moroccan midfielder Bouaddi, owned by Lille, who turns 19 in October, they wrote. Excellent, of course, he's one of the rising stars of the World Cup, but where will they put him? Liverpool cannot let Real Madrid steal another one of their midfield targets. Over the last few years, Real Madrid have got the better of Liverpool in the transfer market. Even though Los Blancos don't often spend that much money on transfers, they're very smart with what they do. For example, last summer, the La Liga outfit signed Trent Alexander-Arnold for nothing from Liverpool, and this summer they've done the same again with Ibrahima Konate. And although these two players are the only ones that they've taken directly from Anfield recently, in the past they've also taken some of their top transfer targets. Dean Herzan, Aurelien Tchouameni and Eduardo Camavinga are the three best examples of this, and although Herzan hasn't done as well as many expected him to, the other two have become world-class midfielders. Each of them would have been exceptional additions for Liverpool, with the Anfield outfit still trying their best to prize one or both of them away from the Bernabeu. If Liverpool let Real take Bouaddi away from them, it'll be another failure for them and a massive win for Jose Mourinho. That is, especially since he's only 18 years old and has been one of the best performing midfielders at the World Cup so far. In another news, Liverpool rejects Curtis Jones' bid as Reds irritated by Inter Milan approach. Liverpool has turned down a second offer from Inter Milan for Curtis Jones, with the Reds growing increasingly unhappy with the offers coming from the San Siro amid the ongoing interest in the midfielder. Jones has been heavily linked with a move away from Anfield, with the 25-year-old having struggled to nail down a spot in Liverpool's starting lineup under Arne Slot last season. Even with Andoni Iraola taking over as head coach, speculation is rife that Jones will be exiting this summer. Inter's interest has been clear for some time now, with the Italian giants having inquired about Jones back in January, although a move never materialised. They now look to be stepping up their approach, although the Reds are far from happy. The Times' Paul Joyce reports that the club has been left irritated by its Italian counterpart. The second bid from the Serie A champions is said to be around $29 million, €25 million, but the Reds value Jones at around $47 million, £35 million. It's claimed that Liverpool thinks Inter is not being serious given the midfield market this summer. It's likely the Reds could also be in the market for a new midfielder this summer, which would become more of a priority if Jones were to leave. What's more, the Telegraph claims that Jones is now set to remain at Anfield, with Liverpool having made it clear to Inter that it has no interest in doing business with the club after it indicated that $27 million was its ceiling. Liverpool is said to be sticking firm to its valuation, given that Jan-Paul van Hecke has recently completed a move to Tottenham for $69 million, £52 million, despite being in the final year of his contract at Brighton. Jones is in the same position at Liverpool, although it's suggested that any talks over a new deal would happen later in the year, with the Reds having no concerns over the midfielder being distracted. With Iraola taking over as head coach this summer, it is expected that Jones will be given opportunities this summer, with the Spaniard eager to take a close look at his new squad, which could also delay any new signings, despite Victor Muñoz's transfer having already been completed and the continuing pursuit of Yan Diomande. Liverpool.com says, Liverpool is right to take a strong stance on its valuation of Jones. Given he is a regular for one of Europe's biggest clubs and an England international, letting him go for under $30 million would feel like a huge missed opportunity. As it is, keeping him could prove hugely beneficial. He's shown how useful he can be with his performances at right back toward the end of the season, and he does perhaps deserve more opportunities in midfield. In another news, Jurgen Klopp ignites public row with Rafael van der Vaart over Virgil van Dijk comments. Jurgen Klopp has dismissed Rafael van der Vaart's comparison of Virgil van Dijk to a Boeing 747, insisting that the ex-Tottenham midfielder's opinion doesn't matter. Van der Vaart slammed his Netherlands compatriot Van Dijk after the 2-2 draw with Japan at the World Cup. The Dutch surrendered 2 leads in their World Cup opener, with Daichi Kamada's late goal seeing the points shared in Texas. Ronald Koeman's team were heavily criticised for their performance and tactical approach as they tried to defend their lead. Van der Vaart led the backlash on Dutch TV, slamming Koeman's overly negative approach while reserving a particular barb for the Liverpool and Netherlands captain. I must honestly say that I was a bit shocked by Van Dijk, he said while analysing the final goal. That turning, it was a bit of a Boeing 747. I hope he will run a little faster during the tournament. Van Dijk opened the scoring against Japan and was awarded the Man of the Match award. He dismissed the criticism of the team's approach and the 5-1 thrashing of Sweden, featuring braces from Brian Brobby and Cody Gakpo, on Saturday put the debate to bed. However, Van Dijk's former Liverpool manager Klopp wasn't willing to let it lie. Appearing on Germany television as a pundit for the Sweden match, the head of global soccer for Red Bull took the opportunity to return fire at Van der Vaart. I don't know if it's worth naming Rafael van der Vaart at all, Klopp said on Magenta TV, but if he ever says something positive about a player, I'm willing to take him seriously again. You have the feeling that he sees something, which then has to be expressed in a flowery way, and then he goes against it. But it's not that important. The Van Dijk comments weren't the only thing from Van der Vaart that made headlines following the draw with Japan. The 43-year-old former playmaker was forced to apologise after saying that the Japanese players look alike. With Brobby and Gakpo thriving at the other end of the pitch, Van Dijk was much less busy in the win over Sweden. He was burnt for pace by Anthony Elanga, who scored a consolation for Graham Potter's side, but overall enjoyed a much better night, having been up against his Liverpool teammate Alexander Isak. There was a concern after the match though, with the 34-year-old defender revealing that he suffered an injury. I took a hard hit to my hip and I couldn't feel my upper leg anymore, so that was a little bit crazy, Van Dijk told NOS. But it was probably just a pinched nerve. I think it is not too bad, but we will see shortly. Van Dijk will be hoping to be fit for the Netherlands' final Group F fixture against bottom side Tunisia in Kansas City on Thursday. That's all for today's Liverpool updates. Big moves, big drama, and even bigger decisions ahead for the Reds. Stay tuned because this story is far from over. See you in the next one.